Coming up next on Arizona Cat's Eye.
Presidential frontrunners make their way to Southern Arizona.
A free basic education program offered at Pima Community College.
Plus, Arizona swimmers headed to the Summer Olympics.
All those stories and more coming up next.
Welcome to Arizona Cat's Eye. I'm Zana Cabrera.
And I'm Milena Larson. Arizona Cat's Eye is a student-produced news broadcast by the University of Arizona School of Journalism.
We bring you stories from around the University of Arizona and throughout the state. The top 4 candidates visited Arizona days before the presidential preference primary in March. At the Donald Trump rally in Tucson, more than 200 protesters rallied outside the Tucson Convention Center. Inside, about 5,000 supporters. Mixed feelings about the visit. One Tucsonan who spoke with the Cat's Eye reporter said whether or not you like a candidate, events like these represent democracy. Donald Trump won the presidential primary in Arizona, followed by Ted Cruz and John Kasich coming in third. And on the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton won Arizona, but Bernie Sanders trod closely behind.
And with the presidential primary in full swing, Arizona pollsters are working hard to figure out what people in this state want from their politicians. Here's a look at one of the offices, volunteers making thousands of phone calls a week. These iPads randomly generate phone numbers for the operators to call, asking people questions about issues affecting their community. The data they gather helps predict voting behavior and trends.
The November election is still months away, but voters will be selecting more than a president. Arizona Cat's Eye reporter Michael Hernandez has more.
November is going to be a busy month, not just in the presidential election, but also at the state and county levels. I spoke with some local party leaders to see what they're doing to prepare.
Great. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. You have a great day. Bye-bye.
It's election season in Pima County. Inside the Democratic headquarters, volunteers are calling voters asking for support.
We're going to be encouraging everybody to get on that early voter list and to vote your ballot quickly. What you can do after that is go online and see if your ballot has been counted, see if your signature is accepted.
Bill Beard chairs the Pima County Republican Party and says even though conservative voters are outnumbered in Tucson, his party is still in the race.
Yes, we're in a part of the state where the Democrats outnumber the Republicans. That gives us an advantage because we've got more room to cultivate and more opportunities to bring people over to our side.
Both parties are going out collecting signatures to make sure their candidates make the November ballot. But other groups like the Libertarian Party have a different approach.
We're not going to draft somebody and force them. That's against libertarian principles. But when they want to run, we go whole hog out and we will do everything we can to support them.
For seats in the Pima County Board of Supervisors, Arizona State Legislature, and Congress, volunteers like these are trying to get support one call at a time.
Well, I would encourage you to look into her. Her website is kirkpatrickforsenate.com.
And to vote in the November election, you need to be registered by October 10th. Reporting for Arizona Cat's Eye, I'm Michael Hernandez.
It can be tough for students to get an education while raising a family or working a full-time job. Pima Community College offers a program to help students earn a general education diploma. Pima Community College offers a free adult basic education program for students wanting to earn their GED. Just last year, the program served roughly 5,000 students in 3 learning centers. For students who receive their GED, they typically earn $9,000 more than someone who hasn't. 42-year-old Sonia Padilla came to PCC in 2010 in hopes to earn her GED. She says her 24-year-old son was her motivation. Roughly 88,000 people in Pima County don't have a high school diploma.
And in other news, the number of refugees in Arizona is growing. Karina Gallardo joins us now with the story of one family.
Around 1,000 refugees come to Tucson every year. This is Anastaska Shuey. He and his wife came to the United States with their children 11 years ago to escape civil war. In Africa, Anastas worked in a bank, and in Tucson, he's washed airplanes. Throughout the state of Arizona, there are 23 organizations that help refugees. The Tucson Refugee Ministry is one of them.
So that they can be part of the community here and contribute back to the community that they're so grateful to be a part of.
In 2015, 4,175 refugees resettled in Arizona, compared to the 1,715 that have resettled so far this year. Arizona is one of the top 10 states for refugee resettlement. One reason is the strong presence of organizations such as International Refugee Committee in Arizona. Reporting for Arizona Cat's Eye, I'm Corina Gallardo.
Thanks, Karina. In other news, the Tucson Police Department received a federal grant to combat sex trafficking. Cat's Eye reporter Shelby Mara has more.
I recently spoke with a woman who is advocating and working with police officers to stop sex trafficking in Tucson.
Well, I was 14. I was a runaway. I didn't have a place to stay. Met a guy who invited me into his home, and it was all from there on.
This is how Lisa Hansen fell victim to sex trafficking. This is Lisa's dad, Jerry Payton. He says Lisa was class president and captain of the soccer team before trafficking changed her life forever.
To watch someone go from that to wanting to kill herself, literally trying to kill herself, and blowing off her whole life, blowing off school and education 3 months before graduation, watching that happen is devastating.
In 2010, Lisa and her dad started the citywide organization Sold No More. Over the past 6 years, the pair has gone into schools to talk to kids about protecting themselves from predators. Now, with the help of the Tucson Police Department, their efforts can grow. The $1.5 million grant lasts for 3 years and provides funding for a task force and officer education. It also allows agencies like Sold No More to work alongside law enforcement. For Arizona Cat's Eye, I'm Shelby Mara.
Thanks, Shelby. Pima County wants to change the way people view homelessness and save taxpayers money. About 3,000 homeless people sleep on the streets in Tucson, and up to 40% are mentally ill. That's according to the county. Last year, more than 2,000 homeless people used emergency shelter, food, and medical programs. One homeless person can cost up the city up to $25,000 in hospital bills and other emergency services. The newly built Salvation Army House has 100 beds available for homeless people and a transitional housing for those who have a job but nowhere to stay. The program hopes to create more housing options for homeless people and lessen the impact on taxpayers. And stay with us. Coming up next, managing this year's flu season.
And Arizona athletes going for the gold.
Here's a behind-the-scenes look at our Cat's Eye anchors getting ready to film a newscast. Students have been working hard to produce this show.
Welcome back to Arizona Cat's Eye. I'm Milena Larson.
And I'm Zana Cabrera. The sounds and wounds of war can stay with a soldier long after he or she has left the battlefield. Arizona Cat's Eye reporter Corina Gallardo has a story of one veteran who struggled with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Dinora Jaime is older than most college students. This 33-year-old veteran suffers from PTSD.
You're just constantly ready to go, and if you weren't like that, you would have not survived.
The Tucson native says she grew up in an abusive home, and the military was her way out. At the age of 17, she joined the U.S. Air Force and served for 10 years. During the war, the effects of her PTSD kept her alert and alive.
And it wasn't until I got out and I was in the civilian, going to school, that I realized, like, okay, I'm too on the edge.
2 years of angry outbursts and fear of being labeled weak, Dinora began treatment for her condition. According to a study, 14% of service members deployed to Iraq or Afghanistan reported symptoms of PTSD, but only half sought treatment. Here, the University of Arizona Veterans Center provides programs to veterans, encouraging them to seek help.
We're open about it, we talk about it, and we try to normalize it.
Around 100 veterans like Dinora come to U of A Vet Center a day for tutoring, counseling, or just to hang out. Psychology professor Michael Mark says everyone can help a veteran recover.
We need to be aware of these issues. We need to be able to talk about those issues.
Dinora still struggles with PTSD, but says she is getting better day by day.
I'm on the path of applying to med school. I don't think that would have been possible.
She is now serving in a new way by helping other veterans learn from her experiences. For Arizona Cat's Eye, I'm Corina Gallardo.
The University of Arizona tackling a serious problem, and that's mental health.
Every year, the Active Minds organization holds a mental health week to spread awareness. The group's goal is to get students talking openly about mental health. Research shows 1 in 4 college students is diagnosed with a mental health disorder. These disorders include depression, anxiety, and eating disorders. Suicide is the second leading cause of death on college campuses. With 1,100 college students dying of suicide each year nationwide, the Active Minds organization says it's important to get people talking about the issue because it is so common on college campuses. Active Minds can also be found on other college campuses around the nation.
This year, Arizona had the highest flu rate in the country. That's according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. The Department of Health Services reported 19,000 cases of the flu in Arizona in a 6-month time period. Doctors and nurses recommended getting a flu shot and always washing your hands for at least 20 seconds. And though not everyone believes or agrees with the flu shot, doctors say it could keep you from getting sick and save you time.
And the wait times have been 7 hours or longer.
Doctors say it's usually best to see your doctor if you think that you have the flu instead of going to the emergency room.
In other health news, a Tucson company is looking to breathe new life into treatment for stroke and heart attack victims. Arizona Cat's Eye reporter Michael Hernandez has more.
More than 1.5 million Americans have a stroke or heart attack every year. That's according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Our cells rely on oxygen to exchange gases in the body, but during a stroke or heart attack, blood cells can't deliver oxygen where it needs to go. That's where Nuvox Pharma comes in. The Tucson scientists developed NVX-108, a drug that helps deliver life-saving oxygen to damaged tissues.
You've got a drug that won't dissolve in the blood because it's very oil-like. So to get it into the blood, you make these tiny, tiny little spherical balls of the drug surrounded by a surfactant that will let it stay in the bloodstream at that small size, and then it will distribute through the body.
Once the drug is injected, it travels through the blood to the capillaries. Nuvox says it increases the amount of oxygen the blood can carry. It stays in the body for about 8 hours before it's exhaled. Nuvox sees big applications for this drug in emergency rooms, ambulances, and the battlefield. CEO Dr. Evan Unger says the drug will help reduce the long-term medical care costs of stroke.
If you take stroke, it is the single greatest cause of long-term medical care in this country. And so if you can improve outcomes in stroke to make more patients functionally independent, then that has potential to lower medical costs.
Nuvox says the drug will also result in a higher quality of life for patients.
Considering what we know about the link between mind and body, attitude and how we live our lives, if we can optimize the person's condition post-stroke, it's not only their life that's improved, it's the life of their family that's improved.
The drug is still in clinical tests, but if it gets FDA approval, it could be on the market in 3 years. Because the drug's dose is so small, the company says there are no side effects, and that could help patients breathe easier when it comes to treatment options. For Arizona Cat's Eye, I'm Michael Hernandez.
Along with treating stroke and heart attack patients, Nuvox says researchers are conducting clinical trials with other drugs to treat brain cancer and sickle cell disease.
According to the Southern Arizona AIDS Foundation, many people who have been exposed to HIV do not know their status. 78 HIV cases were reported in Pima County in 2013 and more than 2,200 in Arizona between 2009 and 2013. The Southern Arizona AIDS Foundation says abstaining from sex and needle sharing are the best preventions against HIV. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention say more than 50% of youth with HIV do not know they are infected.
According to the National Center of Victims of Crime, 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 20 boys is a victim of sexual abuse. Beth Braun, creative director of the Esperanza Dance Project, seeks to educate and spread awareness of this ongoing issue through dance. Arizona Cat's Eye reporter Riley Versfeld has more.
These dancers are expressing the many emotions Beth Braun felt when she found out her daughter had been sexually assaulted.
Initially, I just actually didn't feel like I wanted to keep going.
After her daughter recovered in an inpatient treatment center, Beth created the Esperanza Dance Project to help herself cope and spread awareness about childhood sexual violence.
Dance is my way of connecting with youth. It's my way of expressing myself. And I've also made lots of dances over the years that have been, kind of social activist type pieces.
Beth wanted to help others in similar situations. Bailey Jacque is one dancer that found guidance through the Esperanza Dance Project.
I had just
had an experience for myself, and it was really weird how the timing worked out. Just like a couple weeks later, she was like, hey, like I'm starting this project, like, would you want to be involved?
Although not all of the company dancers have fallen victim to sexual assault, they are all trained activists and mentors for anyone seeking help.
It's not just a project. We don't just speak and dance and just aren't just pretty to look at. We're changing people's lives, and I think that's what really matters.
This room I'm standing in is used for dance practice, but also as a safe haven for those seeking support and acceptance.
It absolutely saved my life. It was my form of therapy. It was like my safe place.
These dancing feet are helping heal and change the world of sexual assault. For Arizona Cat's Eye, I'm Riley Versfeld.
Many sexual abuses go untold because people have a fear no one will believe them or that nothing will be done. The mentors at Esperanza Dance Project believe anyone who comes to them asking for help.
Arizona is going for the gold. Stay with us. Sports with Layla Nix is next.
Here's a look at the production room. Students are hard at work making Cat's Eye happen.
Welcome back to Arizona Cat's Eye. I'm Layla Nix. This summer is the 31st Olympic Games in Rio de Janeiro. Milena Larson traveled to South Africa and has the story of a former U of A swimmer and other Olympic hopefuls.
3 UA swimmers have been training to prepare for this year's Summer Games. One includes a former U.S. Olympian, while 2 South African swimmers came to Arizona to better their chances of making this year's Olympic team. The University of Arizona swim team attracts athletes from all over the world. Among these are South African swimmers as well as Olympians. 6-time Olympic medalist Matt Grievers says he went from NCAA level at Northwestern University to being an Olympic champion after training at Arizona.
You feel really accomplished after these practices, and it's a good moment to see where you are within the season and your training, so it's a nice checkup on how your body and how your training is going.
After the last Olympic trials, Grievers was less than 0.2 of a second from setting the world record. This year, he hopes to set that. South African swimmer Bradley Tandy came to the UA after some of his Olympic idols swam here. He's competed against some at previous Olympic trials and says trials can be very nerve-wracking.
There's no space, there's no room at all for any error because it's make it or break it. You have to get the time, you have to get the position. If you don't, you're done.
Tandy says UA's program and training with Olympians has helped improve his swimming over the 2 years. Another South African swimmer, Michael Mayer, took the school year off to focus on trials. He says training sessions vary day to day, starting with roughly 1,000 abs, then swimming about 5 to 6 miles a set, and ending with an ice-cold bath.
A lot of that stuff's all focused on getting yourself in a better technique, so you're better body position, you know, working on distance per stroke, so kind of making swimming much easier for yourself instead of trying too hard.
As of late April, the 2 South Africans qualified during trials. Since the 1952 Olympic Games, roughly 60 Olympic swimmers trained at U of A.
Spring training for Major League Baseball is taking over Phoenix, but Tucson has its own version at the collegiate level. Cat's Eye reporter Riley Versfeld has more.
The Tucson Invitational Games, which hosts both college baseball and softball, is bringing big bucks to Tucson. In March alone, the Invitational has brought in more than $8 million.
You know, over 12,000 rooms here, so we have a lot of people that come into Tucson, between parents, grandparents, and the coaches and fans. They're going out spending money at the restaurants, going shopping, going to attractions around Tucson. So it's, I think it's very beneficial for Tucson.
The Games started in 2002 with 14 teams. This year, that number has grown to 75.
To us, we were looking for someplace different to go. I'd gotten frustrated with Florida because of the rain, and the beauty of Tucson is it's a desert. So the almost guarantee that we'll get all our games in was a huge piece of it.
Players come from all around the country to enjoy Tucson's weather and play ball.
I think the weather is my favorite part. We're outside most of the time, so it's really nice to get a break. We've been inside the rec center. We practice in our rec center for 6-7 weeks.
The Tucson Invitational Games are held at Lincoln Park and the Keno Sports Complex. Most teams schedule their tournaments during their spring break. A team budgets about $31,000 for the Invitational. Coach Rushing estimates more than half of that goes to the Tucson economy, making businesses feel like they just hit a home run. Reporting for Arizona Cat's Eye, I'm Riley Versfeld.
Unlike professional ball, the games count towards the team's regular season. If you missed them this year, look out for them next spring. Now you can actually run away and join the circus. Well, sort of. The Circus Academy of Tucson puts a spotlight on a little-known art form. Take a look. It's not every day that you see kids hanging from the ceiling, but it's the norm at the Circus Academy of Tucson. Catherine Tesh opened the academy in January to share her love of the art after teaching and studying circus training for 10 years. She says her favorite part of teaching is watching her students realize their full potential. Student Zoe Leviathan says being an aerial acrobat makes her feel unique.
So it's empowering to tell people what you can do on the silks and be able to say that you're an aerial acrobat.
The Academy offers classes in everything from aerial acrobatics to trapeze training. The Academy says it isn't training professional circus performers, but simply wants students to get joy from the art and incorporate it into a well-rounded, healthy lifestyle. More reasons for dancers in Tucson to point their toes. A new mentorship program gives local dancers a chance to play lead characters in famous ballets. The Arizona Arts Conservatory is a dance program started last year by a University of Arizona graduate. The program recruits local dancers and trains them to perform classical ballet pieces. It supports students who want a career in dance and welcomes dancers of all age groups in Tucson. Most of these students come from public schools and local dance academies. The program uses the money raised from their spring masquerade ball to create scholarships. Back to you, Milena and Zaina.
Stay tuned. Coming up next, new opportunities for those with autism.
Cat's Eye reporters shoot, edit, and produce newsworthy stories.
The transition to college can be challenging for any student, but for students with autism, it can be especially tricky. Shelby Mara follows what life is like for young adults with autism who are entering college and exploring what kind of services are offered to support them.
Got a sunburn so that
Thomas Shaliga looks like your average 20-year-old student. He watches TV with his roommate, goes to class, and checks his daily schedule. But what you can't see is Thomas is autistic. Autism spectrum disorders are characterized by difficulties with social interaction, verbal and nonverbal communication, and repetitive behaviors. Thomas says he especially struggles in social settings.
I've always looked to it as we have things a little more harder. My biggest difficulty, I think, is sometimes feel comfortable.
Thomas is learning to work through these difficulties at Chapel Haven West. Chapel Haven is a nationally accredited school and transition program that teaches social communication skills, college and vocation readiness, and independent living skills to young adults with autism disorders.
The Chapel Haven apartment complex is located about half a mile from the University of Arizona campus. Chapel Haven is unique in that it is one of the only transition programs in the country to partner with a major university. Chapel Haven and the University of Arizona have a partnership where their students can take college credit courses.
Kenneth Hosto, the school's director, says there still aren't enough services to support young adults with autism.
And so are there enough programs out there to help? No. And many of our students are still finding what they found back in the early 70s, which is, I've learned how to be a special education student, I haven't learned how to live independently. And that is terrible.
So where it says...
Paul Bastetto is a learning specialist at the Disability Resource Center on the U of A campus. He says he agrees with Hosto and that there is a lack of resources for students with autism.
I think it's higher education's responsibility to be able to support those students and address their academic struggles, social struggles, independent struggles, living on a large campus like this.
Programs like Chapel Haven help students on the spectrum integrate into society and live independently. Thomas says he feels very lucky to be a student at Chapel Haven, but hopes for even more autism awareness in the future. For Arizona Cat's Eye, I'm Shelby Mara.
The first Chapel Haven was founded in 1972 by a group of parents in New Haven, Connecticut, and Tucson campus was established in 2008.
Living the life as someone else. Arizona Cat's Eye reporter Karina Gallardo shares the story of a transgender woman and her journey.
This is Claire, born a man but identifies as a woman.
My gender assignment was wrong at birth.
She lives in Tucson with her wife Jill and their dog Abby. Claire came out in 2009 after living as a man for 37 years.
Transition's about being honest with ourselves.
She feared how this would affect her job in construction.
I did my best to not come out at work, but eventually that happened, and eventually I did lose that job.
The city of Tucson has taken steps to accommodate transgender individuals. Tucson Unified School District updated its non-discrimination policy in 2014, allowing transgender students to play on sports teams or use the bathroom of the gender they identify with. But there has been some concerns.
They also have to understand that the norm would be not to allow someone to come in because of the potential for abuse.
700,000 people in America are transgender. That's 0.3% of the population. Vice President of Southern Arizona Gender Alliance, Abby Jensen, says Tucson is a great place for transgender people, but it's not perfect.
It doesn't mean that it's easy. People still get harassed, people still get discriminated against.
She says one solution is more communication between the transgender community and the public. Claire also works for Southern Arizona Transgender Alliance, advocating transgender individuals' rights.
Being yourself, your true self, and not wearing a mask is priceless.
Even with her busy life, Claire finds peace gardening with her wife, a place she says she can just be Claire. For Arizona Cat's Eye, I'm Corina Gallardo.
Claire says Tucson is a great community to transition in because of organizations such as Southern Arizona Gender Alliance that are available to the transgender community.
On to some other news. Most people know how secondhand smoke affects humans, but what about their furry friends? New studies show that a cancer diagnosis in cats has spiked in recent years. 6 out of 7 cats that lived in a smoking home experienced damage to their lungs, leading to problems like asthma, nicotine poisoning, and lung cancer. Dr. Randy Aronson of Paws Veterinary Center says exposure to secondhand smoke in animals is easily detectable. Symptoms of cancer in cats include coughing, weight loss, vomiting, and bleeding from the nose.
Coming up after the break, we're taking it back to one of Tucson's biggest events and the little ones who love it.
We are a student-led news broadcast that gives University of Arizona students the news that matters most. We are Arizona Cat's Eye. For the latest updates, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Arizona Cat's Eye. Thanks for watching.
Welcome back. Before we go, here's a look back at the Tucson Gem Show. More than just jewelry, something for the kids.
Here's a look at the baby T-Rex at the Gem Show. You can see the children getting excited about it.
A couple different shows in Tucson bring a lot of money to Southern Arizona's economy, with tens of thousands of people on average, about $70 million a year.
It's a big deal in Arizona. It was so much fun. Something to do in the spring.
If you'd like to take a look back at any of the stories we just featured, visit us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Thank you for watching Arizona Cat's Eye, a student-produced news broadcast from the University of Arizona School of Journalism.